Hello friends, and welcome to another figure study where apparently I just have not learned my lesson with Tobots. Because today we're looking at Tobot V Leo Kaiser, which from what I understand is one of the newer figures from the newest season of Tobots. Tobot V specifically. Now, I will say off the bat, I have this guy and I have Captain Jack. I do not have Silverhawk, I believe his name is. Currently, I don't have any plans to get Silverhawk. It's just that the robot mode looks really cool for Silverhawk, but I'm not really feeling that alt mode. But regardless, we are supposed to talk about Leo Kaiser. And Leo Kaiser is an interesting thing. He is a very, very muscle car looking vehicle. And at first I thought I was going to be bothered by the fact that he's got these extremely sticky outy wheel wells that make the car look a little bit too pushed out here and here. But in hand, it's nowhere near as big of a thing as I thought it was going to be, which is good. And I actually really like this alt mode. I think that it looks like a neat kind of American-style muscle car. A little bit like a Camaro, maybe. Like an older Camaro. But it's cool, and I like the coloration here, how it's red primarily with black stripes here and there, and then they make some good use of a little bit of gray plastic for the trim and the little exhaust things on the sides here, and the bumper. But then they also make good use of gunmetal for the wheel wells and the engine block back here, which we'll take a look at in more detail in a minute. Also, something worth noting, I did actually custom this guy a bit. I did some paint work in a few places to make him a little bit more show accurate, but I didn't really have to do much, which was kind of surprising. I haven't quite finished the job because I don't have any gunmetal paint right now to do specific things, which I'll get into later, but as far as stuff that I painted in the vehicle mode, it's just the white up here in the front for the license plate. You can see that it doesn't sit quite right, like it doesn't line up quite right. That's just the way that it sits when I put it together. Not really much I can do about that. But when it does line up right, it works. And you can kind of see why I didn't have to do too much to it, because they did like a little bit of silver and orange in the front there, and this whole grille section with the headlights looks great. I love the silver trim around the translucent blue plastic, and how they've got this kind of shiny chrome for the V01 there. The little emblem is picked out really nicely. You get the V01 here as well. They actually painted the door handles and keyholes. I know in the show, these are actually toy cars that become giant robots, so this doesn't actually have to be a real car, but I still appreciate that they painted that. And also I like the trim around the windows that they did all throughout. They even did like some nice silver around the vents here, and the vents are a different color than the stripes, and there's just a lot of really nice detail in this vehicle mode that stands out really well. And around the back, we get to one of the things that I really like about this current set of Tobot V toys, and that is that the tow keys have a place to store in vehicle mode on all three of the figures. You can actually store the tow key. And on Leo Kaiser here, it's not the best because he's just got a lion face hanging off of his trunk. You can pop it off, and it gives you a bit of a gap back here, plus the engine detailing that's very apparent there. But I do like how when you plug this on, these bits here complete the engine detailing and make it look like an actual complete engine. That's pretty cool. And when you're looking at it from this angle, it's great because you don't even notice the lion head. But when you look at it from the back, yeah, there's totally a big old lion head there. But they did pick out the taillights, and the exhausts are a separate gray color, which is nice. And just there's a lot of nice separation and detail for this vehicle mode. Now that I'm done gushing about the vehicle mode, let's just see how it stacks up to everything else. Here he is with a standard deluxe, and it only occurred to me just as I was putting these two next to each other that we've got the muscle car with the very similar kind of muscle car. Here he is with an older Tobot, and let me raise this up a little bit for just a little bit better of an angle here. But yeah, here he is with an older Tobot model, in this case Terrical. Here he is with Tobot V Troll, and vehicle mode-wise, Troll is definitely bulkier and just bigger in general, and heavier and denser. But he can't do anything with this. And here he is with Tobot V Captain Jack, and these two definitely work very well together because they're part of the exact same line and series. So that would make sense. And I almost forgot, but here he is with the duck tank. Alright. Robot mode time. So first, I'm gonna just pop this off for the sake of popping it off, though you really don't need to take the toe key off the back to do the transformation. But I'm doing it anyway. So to start, Leo Kaiser is a little bit tricky in the sense that the way things kind of come together up here requires a little bit of finesse to get going. The easiest way I found to start it is to push up on the side mirrors here to pop this bit up here, because it is connected down there. And with that popped up, you can then start to pull these bits out here. So you just pop that open and then slide this over. And from under here, where you can totally see the entire robot, you can just see how that slides out on that joint there. Now, I'm going to pop this section back, and this will kind of tuck in here. So with this out of the way, it's going to be pretty easy to do. So just pop that out, and then it'll kind of settle. Like, you can kind of feel it, for lack of a better term. Thoop. I know, I'm taking it from Emgo, but it will kind of settle into that position. And the reason you want that out of the way is so that you can unclip the wheel wells from the sides of the bicep here and swing them up and clip them into the top of the shoulder here. And you would not have the room to do that with the back of the car in the way. You bring the arms out to get them out of the way, split the legs, and then you want to push this section back. So if you get a finger in there and push back, you can see how that kind of slides forward. And from this angle, you can see how that pushes up like so. Swing the bumper bits around. Those will form heels. And then there are little buttons here. You push the button and the foot pops out. And the way that works is it kind of, when you push the button, it slides down and flips forward. So the feet do move, but they're spring-loaded. So really the only thing you can do is have them out or click them back into place. So there we have the feet done. Lastly, we want to just fold these out of the way temporarily so that we can get these fists out. And those will rotate around like that, and like that. Then just for the heck of it, just to keep the toe key stored, we can pop that back onto the back of the trunk there. And there we go. There we have Tobot V Leo Kaiser in his robot mode. Again, I didn't really have to do too much to this guy. There's just some minor stuff here and there, primarily in the backpack, actually. First off, I am going to remove the toe key just because it's technically supposed to be like this, but just wanted to show you can still keep the toe key stored in robot mode when it's not part of his powered up mode or whatever it's called. So yeah, this is his sort of default mode. And it looks pretty good. I like the proportions here. I like the colors. I like the color separation. The one thing that I need to get the gunmetal for is I need to paint these toes here because these are supposed to be gunmetal all the way down. That will change when he goes into his little powered up mode, but like in this mode, this needs to be gunmetal and I just don't have the paint for it. But it's an interesting robot mode with some interesting design decisions that I'm noticing more and more even just doing this video. I like the design aesthetic they're going for here. I like how he's covered in lion faces and mouths and teeth. Obviously, there's what's going on here, which is kind of funny in its own right, but his knee pads also have like the open lion mouth, even with a little nose right at the top there. And his forearms have the teeth. It's kind of adorable. And getting back to how I didn't really have to do too much painting on this guy, I mean, you know, there's a lot of really nice separation here with the little engine piston looking things in the shins there and the knee pads, all that's going on in the waist section here with the blue eyes and the nose and the teeth and all that. I did paint these bits back here, just this back part, because this is originally white, the same color as the midsection here, and I wanted to paint it red so it kind of goes all the way around on both sides. You can kind of see, flipping around, where the painting stopped. I do kind of want to go in and paint the inside there because that's supposed to be like a continuous red, but these holes have to be here for the toe key to attach to. I also painted the black here on the inside of the collar, and looking at the reference photos, I believe this is supposed to be red all the way around, but I kind of like having that white, that little added bit of white there to just kind of separate everything out, and I really like how the black helps to kind of separate things. Originally that was all white. And lastly, I painted his eyes light blue, which happened because I was trying to take his head off to make it easier to paint the black in here, and only his face is attached via the the screw in the back there. And the rest of the back of the head is actually inside, it's attached inside the torso via a peg, which allows it to swivel. So rather than take the whole torso apart just for the sake of painting inside the neck, I just used the opportunity to paint the eyes light blue, because he has translucent plastic for his eyes, and that's really silly to me because you can see there is absolutely no spot for any kind of light piping to come through. Finally, I did some paint on the backpack up here, where I painted these bits here are the same gray as this, so I just took those out and painted them red so they match the backpack a little bit better, and I painted this bit back here black. The reference photos that I have, the CG models seem inconsistent a little bit in terms of how the deco back there is handled, and I don't really want to do black along the edges here because the way the toe key sits, I'd worry about that rubbing up against the paint, so just kind of keeping it a little simpler back there, but I feel like that splash of black behind the head does help the head to stand out a bit more, and I like not having that gray coming all the way down. Now getting back to the general robot aesthetic here, I think it does look very, very cool. I like the way the wheel wells for the rear tires come up onto his shoulders, and rather than being pointed forward, they're pointed straight up. I just like that look. The proportions are nice. He does have that weird thing where his knees are like way high up on the leg, but He has these arm bits that are hanging down off of his arms here, and they do change position for the powered up mode. I don't like keeping them here for the non-powered up mode because this kind of gets in the way. Like, you can't really bring the arms down much further than that because it bangs into the legs. So I know this is incorrect, but I like to angle them up and just plug them into the sides here to clear up space for the arms. And see, now you can bring them down a lot better. And I think that works fine because the bulkier forearms kind of fit with the bulkier calves. But this is unofficial. The official way is to have these tucked around the back. In terms of what I was talking about with details that I'm noticing now that I didn't notice originally, it's the fact that when I was first looking at the face, I noticed there was this little divot here, and I thought maybe I got some kind of defective thing for my figure where like there was a gouge taken out of one side of his face, because you can see the other side doesn't have that. But then I noticed on the thighs, one thigh has this series of scratches and the other thigh does not. So I believe that is intended to be sort of like an asymmetrical scar design, which is kind of interesting. A little bit strange that they have that motif going for the thigh and the side of the face, but both of the biceps have those scratches on them. I feel like maybe it would have made more sense to only have one bicep that has the scratch on it, but whatever. Still a pretty cool looking robot. Now, I'm not going to do size comparisons in the regular mode because his powered up mode does not change height at all. Certain details come out a little bit differently. So I'm going to do size comparisons once we get to the powered up mode. So let's do that right now. I'm going to flip out the toes here. It gives him kind of extended claw feet. And these do not need to be painted, it's just the undersides there that I need to get to at some point. Then, bring these around, so like if these were on the backs of the arms before, they would come around now, and these bits flip out and peg in, and that gives him these big kind of Wolverine claws almost. And finally, the toe key just plugs right there. And I did a little bit of paint on the toe key too. I painted the silver around the edge of the nose there, which looks a bit sloppy. I think I need to clean that up. Yes, that is it for Leo Kaiser's powered up mode, and I think this looks pretty darn great. The default mode, not bad, but this is very cool. This is something that's super duper in my wheelhouse aesthetically. I like how you've got the yellow kind of at the toes and the claws there. I just like the idea that he's got these big Wolverine claws. The way that the toe key kind of adds to that chest detail and sort of mirrors the lion motif even further is very cool. And I also like how these engine bits come up around the collar. It does kind of get in the way of turning his head, but his head doesn't turn that much to begin with, so it's not that big a deal. Speaking of, I didn't actually talk about the head itself when I was talking about the little scratch and painting the eyes and whatnot, and it's fine. It's interesting how you get way more personality from the shape of the head than the actual face. Yeah, he's got that little scratch and kind of like this weird inverted V-shaped frown, which I guess you could say the way it's done is sort of lion-like. And of course, you got this stuff sweeping back here. It looks more like a lion's mane. It's interesting. I like how this is layered. So you get this kind of spike coming back here and back along the sides here, but it doesn't like go flush with everything. It's kind of staggered. It's a neat effect. And many people have pointed out in various videos and comments and stuff that yes, this does have kind of a Transformers Prime knockout vibe. I did watch a brief clip of the show to try and get proper reference imagery for the customizing that I did on him and Captain Jack. So I can say I'm pretty sure his personality type is nothing like Knockout, but I would actually get a kick out of imagining this guy as as actually being Knockout. But yeah, it's an interesting head. It's not the most unique out of the two that I have, but it is cool. I should also look at the Toki in a little bit more detail here too. So yeah, I like the lion face, the head. The gold mane bits are cool. I really want to clean up the silver around the edges of that nose though. The detailing that's going on up here, I did not add that. That actually came painted. So this had the silver, the little silver triangles there, the little silver vents there. That was all in place already. It's also kind of fun to me how these little vents in the front are totally little ears sticking up. They're even shaped like ears. It's very cute. Let's plug this back on and get Leo Kaiser back here and bring in our size comparisons. And again, keep in mind, he does not gain any height whatsoever between his normal and powered up modes. This is just adding like the little toes flipping out, the Toki on the chest, and the little claws coming out. He is a Tobot, even if he's a smaller than they used to be Tobot, he's still quite big. Speaking of smaller than they used to be, here he is with Terrical, and yeah, Terrical is definitely bigger and bulkier. I'm not super bothered by the fact that he's smaller. If anything, it makes him a little bit easier to fit on a shelf. Here he is with Tobot V Troll, and he is a little bit shorter at the head, about the same height at the backpack, but Troll is bigger, bulkier, denser. At least he has a place for this thing in this mode. Here he is with Tobot V Captain Jack, so his series, wave, whatever you want to call it, buddy. And here he is with Captain Jack in his powered up mode, so you can see how that works out. And again, there's no height difference at all with Captain Jack, it's just more details coming out. And of course, here he is with the Duck Tank. And that is it for Tobot V Leo Kaiser. He is a cool figure, though not my favorite of the two recent acquisitions that I got from Tobot V. Clearly, since there are only two, you can guess what my favorite is. But he is neat. I really like the look here. I like his powered up mode especially. The transformation's a little bit fiddly in terms of these bits here either going into or coming out of the vehicle mode, but still fun. Still a neat looking guy. He looks great on the shelf. In particular, he looks great standing next to Captain Jack. Regardless of all of that, what do you all think of Tobot V Leo Kaiser? Aside from the fact that he does look like Knockout and has a name that sounds very much like Leo Kaiser. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.